What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be working on the Crossmember. Now my goal is to do one video completing this. That means taking the old one out, repairing all the spots that need to be repaired, doing rust prevention in the areas that we're repairing. Eventually we're going to have to do a lot more rust, rust repairs or, mitigations, if you will. But today there are a lot of little things that need to get done. One of the big things, if you look over here, we have this whole section that needs to be cut out, and I would say you just need a patch here and a patch here, but we'll just do one section. And we have the same gauge steel, which comes out to being about 16 gauge, or it is 16 gauge. So we'll weld it in there, which we'll have to use a Dremel to cut some of this out because I won't be able to fit my grinder in there. And we of course have this frame rail to repair, and I want to say it's pretty substantial, but it really isn't. We got to replace this tab, and we have to replace this tab here. We'll probably go ahead and cut this section out, and then basically make what we have over here with a little bit of a down little bump, and do the same thing here. What else? I mean, we could grind this off still and see, because it does feel like it's actually pretty solid underneath. So we might just grind that off and see what we have left. As we move over here, of course, we do still need to drill out those spot welds, and we do have to take the remainder part of the Crossmember off. I'm just holding off to do that just for now. As soon as that comes off, I want to do any patch repairs on that side and then immediately put the new one in, to make it so that we have less likely that it's going to have catastrophic failure. I don't see where we've pulled enough material off that it would actually collapse. I mean, after all, we only took the rod out. We haven't taken anything that was structural or had structure remaining. So that's pretty much all I have to say for the moment. We have a lot of work to get done, so let's go ahead and dig right into it. Now that we have this fairly cleaned up, and we still need to do a little bit of cleanup work before we start putting welds down, but I figured we'd take the moment and make ourselves a nice template of what's going on here. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty close. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to mark the outside and cut outside the line so that this end result plate will be slightly bigger than this space here. That way we can trim it up with the grinder just so it fits perfect, because the lines are fairly straight but they're not perfect, so we'll make it so it's nice and snug. Then we'll put a tack in each one of these corners, and then like probably like right here and right here and right here, and then we'll just stitch weld it back in. Now, because this is fairly thin steel, my plan is to actually pulse weld it instead of going ahead and doing like a weaving motion. If this was thicker steel, I'd probably go that route. Something like this, you could probably get away with it, but you have a lot more control over your penetration, so you don't get blowouts. So, you know, pulse welding is a little bit more time consuming, but until you get to know your machine really, really well and you become very, very good at welding, I would recommend just pulse welding it. It takes a few more moments to do it, but the end result will end up having a nice solid bond. It won't have beautiful dimes. If you know what you're doing, you can still get dimes with pulse welding. But so anyways, let's go ahead, cut this out, finish cleaning this section up, throw some rust prevention in there, and start welding. Especially in a tight spot like this, I know it's not super easy, but you know, use a wire brush. We have these little flap wheels that you can put right on your drill. You know, anything that you see that needs to be repaired, you know, knock any dents out that you see, like there's still a little dent right here that I need to fix. Possibly someone put the jacks, you know, at the wrong spot at one point in its history. But try to get as much clean as far in as you can. I still have some more to clean right there, but once you're all done, use some acetone. Acetone works really well for prepping raw steel like this. And then once it's all said and done, hit it with a light coat of whatever you're feeling like. Pour 15, whatever. Try to get it as far in as you can. You're here, try to do your best. Now, once it's all said and done, you're gonna have to scrape off or sand off any of the spots where you put your primer on or your anti-rust, whatever you're doing. You know, you're gonna have to take some of that off so that you can actually turn around and put good welds in. So for now, we're gonna put our anti-rust spray right in there and try to get as far in as we can and prep the surface a little bit better inside the rail. So next time you see this, this should be black and we should be getting ready to start putting welds down. Well, isn't that a bummer right there? So I went ahead and I took and I cut the top, the little tab right here, so that it would come off easy. And yeah, it didn't. And when it finally did give, it broke the nozzle right off. And I got a little on me, as you can see. Fortunately, I didn't get any on the car, but you know, if it's not one thing, it's another. Let me go clean up. Yeah, I'm not overly pleased. I've never had that happen before at a can. Like, that really sucks. That's like 11, 12 bucks right there, and it's just spraying out on the ground. Wear safety glasses, guys, because that would have sucked if I wasn't wearing them. Well, that actually came out fairly well. It's still kind of on my arms, but I was more worried about getting it off my face. And it did end up getting all over this window, so unfortunately, actually probably fortunately, I had the window up. Otherwise, it probably would have gotten on the outside of the car, but yeah, that sucks. All right, let's get that sprayed and give it a little time to cure and get it ready for welding. So the other day when I was working on playing with the welder a little bit, I noticed that when I was welding the 11 gauge steel sheet that I had together and doing a butt weld, it burned a little hot for what it was supposed to. So taking in consideration that, I went ahead and I turned down the heat a little bit. And so even with the voltage down a bit, it still burned through a little bit. So once I got it right in the good spot, it did a much better job. Not my best weld by any stretch of the imagination, but she's a lot better than I was kind of expecting for my first time in 10 years using a proper MIG welder. So we're doing all right. So we're going to go ahead and grind that off so we have a nice flat surface. We'll get some nice paint on there, and then after that we'll go ahead and we'll start working on this section. And then once this section's done, we got to go ahead and drill these butt welds out. So let's get that taken care of, and I'll fix my little debacle back here. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, while we wait for that paint to cure and harden over there, we're pretty much just going to leave that where it is for now. The next step, of course, will be to line up everything with the Crossmember, and then weld in any, weld it in place, and then weld the repairs to the superstructure of the vehicle, and which is going to be really difficult where it is, but what they say, where you have to do something, you got to do it. So next thing, let's remove these spot welds, and what we're going to use is one of these step bits. Pretty straightforward. Want to get it pretty close to center. If you're a little off, you can actually angle your drill a little bit and change your orientation, but we're actually pretty close to center, so we won't change it that much. Also, make sure it's in drill mode. Certain point, put it to low. Now I think we're all the way through. I'm not 100% positive. I think we are, though. So we're going to do that another 7 times. Well, guys, today was one of those days where you have to fight for every inch of ground, and it was an uphill battle, but we conquered it. It's not 100% lined up, but that's where we're going to leave it today. We have it just held into place. She needs to go down a good 1/4 of an inch yet, and there's a few things, like if you look in here, these are bent outwards. We have to bend those in, and then so we can do a nice weld on those. Both sides are the same way. But guys, it's in place. It's lined up with the frame. It's, oh, guys, this is big. This is really, really big, guys. I don't know about you, but I am very excited about this. Very, very awesome, guys. Very awesome. Now, one thing I've noticed is on this side, there's a ridge going in like that, and the other side's flat. So I'm fairly confident I have it in the right orientation, but I will double check before I go ahead and even start spot welding things in or tack welding things. We are going to do a combination of spot welds and just straight up lap welds. This thing's gonna never want to move ever again. We have some repairs on that frame over there and some repairs in the frame on the front, where I just now saw that yesterday, but everything's fixable, guys. The difference between something that is and isn't fixable is a person that's willing to go ahead and put the time and energy into it. But they make plenty of sheet steel for repairing this, so they make it every day. That's what I got to say about that. Anyways, obviously we're not going to spot weld this section back in. We're just kind of getting it into place, but it does seem like this is a little bit different as far as how it's designed. This is a little bit wider in some spots than this. This is a little bit skinnier. This is obviously a little bit different than this, but it is, as far as I can find, this is the right one for this car. It's just, it's also meant to be able to be used for multiple cars. So that's what I have for today, but we are going to tackle the rest of this first thing in the morning, maybe a little bit later than first thing. I want to have 2 cups of coffee before making such big decisions like where this thing lands. If you know what I mean. But yeah, we're going to tackle this tomorrow, and that will be seconds for you. So you have yourselves a quick 3-second siesta, and I'll see you in about 2 seconds. All right, guys, today is another day, and we are almost ready to go ahead and weld this thing in. We're going to work on the geometry a little bit to make sure everything is perfect. Once we're happy where it is, we'll tack weld it and double check everything, then go ahead, lap weld the entire thing. Now, I do still need to take the old tabs out. I took my measurements. I found some measurements on B-Body's Only's forum, so we should be all set. Now, I'm sorry if the lens leaves a little bit to desire as far as the quality of the picture. This thing has got all kinds of spatter from the welding. I must have gotten a little too close, but fortunately they're not that expensive, and I ordered a replacement one, but unfortunately it won't be in this episode. So I am very sorry if it's got a little bit of schmoo on the lens. We work with what we got. Now let me go ahead and knock this out a little bit so I can take those tabs out, and once the tabs are out, we'll double check our geometry and put some spot welds down. Now, I've been trying to get the geometry correct for close to 4 hours. You're going to be using pipe clamps, beam clamps, vice grips, and everything, especially tape measure. Tape measure is going to be very important. But after you finally get it where you need it to be, and you have it tack welded in, then it's time to really just finish welding. Now, we have a lot of repair work yet to do on this one frame area, but my goal today is to finish welding this in, and if I have enough time, I'll go ahead and repair that. But I think that's going to be a different video. The reason why is because I'm going to be going back and forth, trying to get the actual shape of this correct. And then it's just going to be a matter of sliding it into place, putting a weld underneath, weld here, and then the tab and the tab on the bottom. Now, what I did do was on the other side, I took a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard, and I actually traced the actual existing tabs so that we could recreate it on this side. But boy, guys, it was a heck of a fight to get it where we are, but we're ready to finish welding her in. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We have tack welds everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So let's go ahead and finish her up. And just like that, guys, it's in. And I say just like that like it was an easy thing, but this was quite the ordeal. Not something I'd want to do again, and it would have been a lot easier off like on a jig or a rig or, you know, whatever. But working with what we have here, we were able to do it. You're going to want to, once it's all time to start tacking it, you're going to want to have a couple of jacks in different spots so that you can kind of twist the car a little bit here and there until you get your geometry correct, because it will shift, you know, whether it's sitting on the seam weld all the way down through here or you're on the frame. I had to go and put different things in different spots to make it just right. And it's very important that you're measuring things out. And I'll tell you, it would have been a lot easier to weld this stuff with you know, it off the ground and be able to weld while you're down underneath it. But working on what we had, the welds aren't terrible. Still kind of getting used to the machine, but I am kind of getting the little things that it likes to do. But yeah, welding a straight line would have been a lot easier down below. But like I said, we work with what we got, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. It's gonna be minty fresh, guys. One thing I do recommend, so you can get different measurements from different spots. There's where your seat actually bolts into underneath here. There's that little bracket. Originally, I didn't have that exposed. I had to cut that out, so I had an additional measurement spot. So, boy, not an easy task. And we still have to remove the floor. We have to repair this part of the frame right here. We have some frame damage, not damage, but rust in the frame up front. We have this side only has a few patches. We have a large patch we're gonna have to do in there. And as long as my view of it, and what I've never been a frame person, but my understanding is as long as you're using the original metals and you cut it out exactly how they did it initially, we'll be fine. We'll cover that in another video. That is gonna have its own video just because of how much work is gonna go into that. But I would say it's beer o'clock. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm very upset about the whole Ace bottle, you know, exploding and getting all over the place, but not the end of the world. Fortunately, we should be able to get it off of this. And off of this, because it's not like the surfaces are prepped or anything. As far as, this is what I was thinking. You guys, you'll have to kind of give me your 2 cents. I've had a lot of people, wanting me to put lead down on these surfaces. The problem is, like through here in the front, I'm trying to get this door to shut a little better. There, we're close enough. So through here and in there, you guys want me to do lead. Now, with doing lead, we're gonna have to take the windows out. And in my mind, if I'm gonna have the windows, because I'm not gonna take them out, I'll have to have someone do that. I've never done windows. I don't feel comfortable doing windows, but if we're pulling these windows out, it's like Pandora's box. I'm trying to keep this as budget friendly as possible. Now that means we're going to be going down and having these windows removed. Then I got to prep all this surface and, you know, get it ready for lead, which isn't a big deal, but we're going to be heating the surface up quite a bit. Now, if we are going to go that route, taking the windows out, being very careful, take the chrome out and everything, but repairing this, I kind of wasn't part of my original plan, but I'm feeling that if we're going to do that, we're going to go through all that work while we're at it, we should do a headliner. What do you guys think? Which is, it's not in my budget, it wasn't anticipated to be in my budget, but you know, this whole car is for you guys, and we're working on getting this experiment, you know, put together the way you guys want it. And if you guys want me to lay lead in there, I'll lay lead in there, but we're gonna have to wait a little bit for it because it's going to be expensive. It's going to be very expensive. I have lead. It's just that's going to be a big undertaking, but for you guys, I'll do it. So that's all I have for you today. It's actually a fairly nice day. I'm very much looking forward to a shower and dinner. So you guys have yourselves a wonderful day. I hope you're as happy as I am how this turned out. Yeah, we have a lot to do on this car, but this was one big bite out of the elephant. This is awesome. A lot more work to do, guys. A lot more work. So have yourselves a wonderful night. God bless, and keep it shiny side up.